Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. Now with Valentine's Day coming up, I'm getting ready to send a package out to one of my kids in North Carolina, and I want to include a money book in it. Now I saw this project on the Best Unis YouTube channel, and so that's what I'm going to make today. Now I have all the instructions in the rest of the video, so let's get going. On this video, I'm going to show you how I'm going to make this money book for my daughter. Now, first of all, let me tell you, I am doing it kind of a weird way. I'm going to use sublimation paper, a piece of cardstock, some lamination film, because I don't have a color printer at home other than my sublimation printer. So whereas I'm going to put lamination film on this cardstock and then press my sublimation print on top, you could simply print out a piece of cardstock with your design on it. Okay, so since I have a few extra steps, let's go ahead and get started. I cut my piece of cardstock to 6 inches tall by 6.5 inches wide. And the first thing that I want to do is put this lamination film over the top of it. Now this is a roll of lamination film that I bought off of Amazon. It is only 1.5 mil thick, so it's half as thick as those lamination pouches that you see a lot of people use. I had somebody tell me they thought it was so thin they couldn't even use it, but I tell you, I've used both and I highly prefer the thin film. I think it works better as far as showing the texture of what you're working with, especially if you're working with things like canvas boards or fabric. So what I'm doing is I'm just taping with some heat tape my lamination film to my Teflon sheet. Then I typically use my heat press, but for today I'm going to use my Cricut Easy Press 2. So I'm going to go ahead and cover that up. Now I already have my setting at 395 for 45 seconds. That's the time and temp for sublimating. You really don't need to do this quite that hot or quite that long. So I'm going to do this just for about 15 seconds. Now let me check and make sure that adhered. And it did. And it is very smooth. I know you're not going to be able to tell, but this is very, first of all, it's very hot, but it is very smooth. Whew. Okay, so now I'm just going to rough cut this off my cardstock. Now, once again, you really don't need to go through all this trouble. You can simply print yours on cardstock. Now, I have some blowout paper here. I want to make sure and put that under my cardstock as well as on top of the sublimation print. That's going to protect my Teflon sheet. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and place this here, and then with the lamination film side down, I'm just going to center that on my print. And honestly, I wish I would have left a little bit more lamination film because I would much rather tape to my lamination film than the actual cardstock. But I think I'll be okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. It is thin enough. I probably wouldn't have to flip it over, but I'm going to go ahead and flip it over. And then put more of the blowout paper on top. Now for this, I'm going to go ahead and press this at 395 for 45 seconds. That's pretty. Now I'm really glad that I mainly taped it to the excess lamination film. Okay, so that's cooled down a little bit. I think I'll be fine to go ahead and remove that. Then I'm just going to cut right along the cardstock to remove that excess lamination film. So that's really pretty. Now the words Mad Money, that's what my grandmother used to call this envelope of money that she would keep in one of her dresser drawers. And really it's just excess money that you can spend on anything you want. So I have this little scoring tool. It's not necessary, but I have it, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. I think a lot of card makers have these. What I want to do is score right along the left side of the solid stripe and the right side. Then, since I had to use the lamination film, it's going to be a little tougher to bend this and keep it bent. Okay, so here's what the money book will look like. Let's go ahead and work with the money so we can get it inside. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to cut a piece of cardstock about the same size as a dollar bill. Then the part of this that takes the most time is just getting this rubber cement to dry on your money. So I'm going to get these straightened up. The other thing I did was under my heat press, I pressed these for about 10 seconds. I sandwiched them between two pieces of blowout paper, and then they were just single layers, and I pressed about 10 seconds. Now, I'm going to use these little clips that I got at the Dollar Tree just to kind of hold my money in place. Try to get it lined up pretty nicely. Okay, so that feels pretty good. And then this is kind of messy. It's really thick, rubber cement. When it dries, you can peel it off of things. So if I get some on the table, it's not a big deal. And when you get it on your money, it really isn't a big deal. It's going to peel off. It's not going to ruin your money. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I don't want these to be super tight together. I want the glue to go down between them a little bit. So in that case, I'm going to move those clips down just a little bit. And I'm just going to put this along the top of my money. Now you have to be somewhat generous with this. I made one of these for my son for his birthday. And I learned a lot doing my first one, so hopefully this one comes out better and I don't have to rework it so many times. But as I'm putting it on there, I'm just kind of pushing it down in between the dollar bills. I think when I did my son's, I literally took the money apart and painted like the top tip of each bill. Now I think the instructions on this said you had to let it dry for 15 minutes, and I'm pretty sure what I found before was 15 minutes really wasn't enough time. Probably because I'm shoving it down between all these bills. Okay, so I have quite a bit of excess on the back and the front. I'll just wipe that off. And with my finger, I'm going to try to kind of jam it down in there. So I'll go ahead and take these clips off. Looks like it's sliding around just a little bit. All right, so I'll come back in maybe 30 minutes and check it out. All right, let's go ahead and see how this is. Okay, it's stuck to my cutting mat. That's okay. All right, I see I have some air pockets in there, but it's not bad. It's holding together. That's better than when I made my son's money book. So let me go ahead and put a second coat. I probably will put 3 coats on this. I'm not really sure yet, but that's kind of what I foresee. Now the last coat, I shoved it down in between. This one I'm going to try to stay just kind of on the top. All right, I'm going to wait another 30 minutes. You have to be kind of patient to do this craft, but I think it's going to pay off in the long run. All right, I think I'm good now, but just to be careful, or just to be safe, I'm going to put one more layer of glue on there. Now, when I talked about being generous, I am generous. Look at that dripping down the front. All right, so I'm going to let that dry one more time. I think I'm going to have to wait more than 30 minutes. Then we're going to put it in the money book. Okay, I think this money is ready to go into the money book. So here's what I want to do. I want to go ahead and put some of this rubber cement on this cardstock because, again, that's not going to ruin the money. It peels off very easily. So I'm going to put it, I don't know, it's about an inch down from the top. Then I'm going to press the money on there. Then some of this rubber cement on the front, I can just peel that off. And then the next thing that I'm going to add is some of this double-sided tape that I got at the Dollar Tree store. So let's go ahead and just peel this back. And I want, let's see, I want it to be about the width of the cardstock behind the money. So I'm just going to place the sticky side on the top of this. Trim it to the length I want. If you have not used this Dollar Tree store double-sided tape, I really think it's a great buy. And then just to be safe, I'm going to add one more piece in the middle. All right, so the way this works, I put the sticky side down. Then I'm going to go ahead and peel up the paper backing on the back of the tape. Then I'll go ahead and place this down on the back half of the money book. Now be really careful because, again, this Dollar Tree store double-sided tape is really sticky. And once you place it down, you're probably not going to be able to move it. then what I'm going to do is just rub off any excess of the rubber cement. All right, so here we have it. Isn't that cute? I think that's adorable. So my daughter can open it, and I don't want to rip this out. It's really attached well, but again, it's not going to ruin the money. You just peel it off and you spend it on whatever you want. Now on this one, there's only $25 on here. When I made my son's birthday card, I used 5s and 10s. You can use whatever denominations you want. But I thought this would be really cute. She can grab a few ones, run down to McDonald's or Brahms or whatever they have in North Carolina, and buy her a treat. So Best Uni, thanks so much for showing this on your channel. I love how this turned out. She's going to get a real kick out of it. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone, and sticking it out all the way till the end. And until my next video, bye-bye.